OTR, we're with Congressman Seth Moulton. He is in Salem. Congressman, you quickly pivoted, but you were the only Democrat to initially sign on to a Republican resolution condemning China for the coronavirus outbreak. Had you talked to any Democrats before you did that?
What I did is I read the resolution, which a lot of critics have not. And the resolution doesn't just condemn China, it calls out them on human rights violations, on things that they have done. In fact, from a national security perspective, there's nothing in the resolution that anyone's been able to disagree with. But the reason I backed out of it is because I heard from many Asian American friends of mine that the way the president was twisting this narrative, calling it the China virus, which of course is not in the resolution, doing things to essentially shift blame from his administration to Chinese Americans even, not even just the Chinese government, that was the wrong message. And so that's why I ultimately took my name off the resolution. But I do think it's important that we have bipartisan strength when it comes to standing up to China. And it's not just on the coronavirus and the ways that they suppressed information and kept the initial stage of the virus hidden from the world. It's all the other things that they are doing to literally steal jobs every single day through the internet, to oppress people back in China. The Communist Party of China is an enemy of the United States, and there has to be bipartisan recognition of that in Congress.
So I just want to clarify, Congressman, you're saying that there was nothing wrong with the resolution, it was just the way it was being perceived?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Switching to another topic, you were not a big proponent of Nancy Pelosi as House Speaker last year. How do you think she's doing so far? Do you think she's doing a good job, bad job as leader of the House?
I think she's doing a great job standing up to President Trump, and that's the most important thing that we need to do right now as Democrats in the House, because we're the only check right now on the administration. You know, as bad as things are coming out of the White House, as many Americans have died during this pandemic because the White House failed to take action. As much racism is rampant in America because the president refuses to confront it. Just imagine how much worse things would be if Democrats did not control the House, if Republicans controlled every arm of government in Washington. And that's why it's so important that we stand united in the House. So look, there's a time to vote for captain, and there's a time to play on the same team. We're all on the same team in keeping America close to its constitutional values and keeping this administration in check.
So do you regret your attempts to try to find another candidate to run against her?
No, absolutely not, because I was elected on a promise to bring a new generation of leadership to Washington. And you know, there are a lot of people who talk about generational change, but there aren't many of us who actually fight for it. And I'm going to keep upholding that promise. That's why I'm working so hard to endorse and support a new generation of servant leaders running in seats across the country. We had tremendous success with this effort in 2018. It was a huge part of winning back the House. In fact, half the seats that we flipped to take back the House of Representatives were Serve America candidates that I supported. And they're making waves, they're doing great things. There's people like Alyssa Slotkin, Chrissy Houlihan, Mikey Sherrill, Abigail Spanberger, people who took tough seats to ensure that we were in the majority. Many of them service veterans, in fact, an awful lot of them women service veterans. And they're doing great things because we need that kind of generational change in Washington.
Congressman, before we say thank you and goodbye, there's the United States Senate race here in Massachusetts. Eddie Markey, Joe Kennedy in the Senate race. So who do you see winning that? Who are you behind? Who are you backing?
Oh, look, I am focused on the Senate races that we need to win across the country to take back control of the Senate. That's what we need to be focused on. Races in places like Arizona, where Mark Kelly, a Navy veteran and an astronaut, is taking on Martha McSally. Races like North Carolina, where Cal Cunningham, another honorable veteran, is fighting to take back control of the Senate and make sure that Mitch McConnell is no longer a roadblock to progress. That's where we need to be focusing our energy, and that's certainly where I'm focusing my efforts this year.
Congressman, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate it. Be well, sir.
Thanks. Same to you.